Alright, hey, so this is my best of 2018 movies list. Just like I did previously last year, instead of doing a top 10 list, I just had a bunch of movies and then I kind of grouped them in their own little categories and I gave you a quick brief synopsis of them. So that's what I'm going to do again this year. So this first category, I call it For the Culture. So of course that means, there's a lot of people of color in the cast, or the entire cast is either all black or whatever not, and it's, very much a representation of that race rather than just being like, there's that one me there or one you there, and it delves into several layers within, the culture, the race, and all that stuff. It's not just like, hey, that's that person. So, in this category, I have BlacKkKlansman, Blindspotting, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Roma. BlacKkKlansman, based on real events, based on a man named Ron Stallworth, who infiltrated the Klan and got them and got shit done. Spike Lee directs this one, and he does a great job at showing, the tough shit that happened back in the day while adding some humor to it. It's a lot spoken about, the end where they show real footage about Charlottesville, but it's not, they don't just put it there just to be like, look, relevance and stuff. There's a reason why they put it there, Then we have Blindspotting. This one is written and starred by Daveed Diggs and Rafael Casal, two people who've been best friends forever, and they do a movie about two friends who've pretty much been best friends forever, whereas there's that dynamic, one's black, one's white, but they grew up in the same neighborhood. And again, when I said about layers, about how the white dude has been accepted to that neighborhood, but then now because of gentrification, he's gotta have to kind of like reprove himself that like, no, I'm one of the good white people, I'm not one of those that are trying to come over and put bakeries in your place and sell green juice, that kind of shit. And I personally really enjoy it because it makes me think of my friendship with my best friend Paul, and just how, like, you can tell these people have been friends for a while because they have that special kind of chemistry they have with each other that, usually doesn't really show up in a lot of movies or TV unless, like, it's 5 seasons in or something, Besides that, also, this movie has an amazing soundtrack that they have like 2 separate EPs, one like for each character, and they're amazing, and it's on Spotify, and I suggest you guys give it a listen because it is really good. If you're a fan of hip-hop and current hip-hop is just like, to you, this gives you that, good old feeling. So then we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I love that they decided to finally have Miles Morales in a movie. Yes, this is animated, but this is really, really well done. The animation style is just so amazing. Very, like, stylized animation. They go with their base animation style throughout the movie, but when certain things would happen, they would exaggerate, they would elongate, they would kind of go a little bit all over for good, and then the colors, the use of depths of field and everything, it's great. And like I said, for the culture, a lot of people don't know about Miles Morales. They might have just heard of him because when Marvel got the rights for Spider-Man again, they were like, oh cool, we're gonna do Miles Morales. And then people were like, why are we having a black character as Spider-Man? Isn't Spider-Man a white kid? So now to actually see, especially Into the Spider-Verse, the multitude of Spider-Men lads out there, it does a really good job at being immensely relatable when it comes to especially like Miles just trying to be like, he's a smart teenage kid and he's just trying to like do his thing, he's trying to rebel, but he's like super smart, and like his teachers aren't letting him fail out, his dad's a cop, his mom's like, a nurse or whatever not. And the little final one in this category is Roma. I'm very, very happy that Netflix got distribution rights to it so it could reach such a like larger audience, because a movie like this is like in theaters, it's only it's only in a small handful of theaters. It's like you gotta go to the IFC Center, you gotta go to like the Alamo Drafthouse, that's it. You can't see it at any AMC's kind of shit. It's also foreign language. It's like, oh my god, it's in black and white. Too many variables for regular moviegoers to want to go see it. They're like, nope, don't wanna, I don't get it, kind of thing. But I'm glad it is on Netflix. Yes, it probably looks a lot better on, the big screen. It is beautifully shot. Like, it's black and white, the cinematography, the film snob in me is like, yes. But just the story as well, the pacing of it, and like I said, for the culture, it takes place in Mexico in the 70s. And while everyone in the movie is, Latin and everything, there is that whole balance of, like, the woman, the lead is a darker skinned, Mexican woman. She works for this family that's very white passing, and they have a lot of money. They've got a big house. She lives in, like, a space that's probably the size of my room here, and she kind of goes through her struggle. The family, even though being rich and whatever not, they go through their shit, and, they come together, like all that stuff, and it's a beautiful story. It's so well written. You care so much for the main character that any little, like, bad shit that happens to her, you're like, no, I will go through the screen and fight the person, My next little category, I call it the sci-fi what the fuck. And these three movies are exactly that. It's science fiction based. It's a lot of what the fuck happening, but you like it anyway, because fuck it. So the first one is Mandy. Everyone knows that movie is batshit looking insane. When the trailer came out, I was like, I don't know what this is. There's a whole lot of weirdness going on, and Nicolas Cage is in it. I have to go see it. After seeing it, I'm like, oh yeah, I've never done drugs in my life, but now I can see how things might look if I've ever done drugs. The colors, the story is so wackadoodle and kind of, like, done before, but you're just like, fuck it, because they go in, like, this, they literally go over there. The score is amazing. All these elements are so good. The next one is Upgrade. It's a very stylized movie based off in the, like, kind of near future, like, let's say 50 years or so. A lot of things are extra digital, automated, all that stuff. Lots of self-driving vehicles that don't run people over. And you've got Logan Marshall Green's character who just kind of, like, doesn't want to accept, like, all that stuff. He's like, no, I'm going to work on my car that I can drive myself, he gets into an accident and he becomes, like, a quadriplegic. And this company comes to him and says, hey, we put a little thing on the back, we can upgrade you. And because of that, if you see the trailer or whatever not, there's, like, these crazy, camera angles where if his body bends one way, the camera goes with him. It's very stylized, directed by Leigh Whannell. It's one of those very fun movies to watch. Then the final one in my little sci-fi what the fuck is Annihilation. It is definitely sci-fi what the fuck. It's like, cool, us all lady casts gonna go through this weird veil. Oscar Isaac, hello. Go through it. Hey, we lost some time. I don't know. Stuff is happening. Plants, stuff. Weird animals screaming. Okay, that's fine. Oh wait, why is this, alien, like, mirroring me? Oh my god, am I really Natalie Portman or not? It's definitely worth a watch. It's one of those movies, if you kind of explain a little bit more of the movie, you kind of go into spoilers, and you just have to watch it. My next little category is documentaries. So I have two. It's Won't You Be My Neighbor and McQueen. So for Won't You Be My Neighbor, it kind of gives you a backstory of Fred Rogers, kind of the inception of his show to how long it ran for. And all around, what a great person that Fred Rogers was. That pretty much, like, for his show, he just wanted people to be happy and get along. And without being, like, cheesy and, like, rolling your eyes and be like, okay, grandpa, move along. And there were times where you're watching the doc and you're like, okay, I'm feeling nostalgia. Oh, now I'm feeling the feels. I think I'm crying watching this documentary about Fred Rogers. And with McQueen, again, you get to see how he, like, kind of started off into fashion until, until his death, and just seeing how he was kind of easily able to get in because he got in during, like, a time where you could kind of go up to someone and be like, hey, you need someone to work for you and just cut patterns? Cool, okay, I got a job, He did that, and then the fact that he was just able to kind of, like, do his thing, immediately have people go, hey, you're skilled and talented. we should, show that off to everyone rather than being like, oh, you're so talented. I don't understand why you can't get a job. Anyway, I'm going to be over here getting jobs and stuff and continuing doing jobs. And I need an assistant or someone to help me. Oh, well, And you just kind of understand the mind of, like, Alexander McQueen a lot more. I have a couple of his books from, like, exhibits that I've been to, but just to kind of, like, listen to him talk through his, like, processes and all that stuff, rather than, like, reading it, you could kind of understand, like, the artistry a little bit more. You hear him and other people talking about, like, how his runway shows themselves were, like, mini exhibitions kind of things, and, like, just, of course, how he was just so different from the rest of the fashion world, but they were all so intrigued by him, rather than being like, okay, you're too different, fuck off. It was just like, no, there's something here, there's something here, and I definitely enjoyed it because I love his work, I love how he worked. It makes me feel a little bit, sane to a degree, because my brain gotta work similar to how his brain worked. And then my final little category is horror/thriller. As a big fan of horror films and everything, I know that a lot of horror films nowadays are not good. You see a trailer for a horror film and you just go, oh goody, I'll just skip that, I'll watch it at home, get angry, give it a 1 star on my letterbox and move on. So 3 movies are Searching, Hereditary, and Unsane. With Searching, as I said in my review, of course comparing it a lot to Unfriended, because of course it's a lot of, like, screen capture and all that stuff. Whereas something like Unfriended is just like 90 minutes of a screen capture of someone's desktop, just straight through. Searching, you're going through all these different types of media. There is a bit of a twist at the end of the movie, but you could kind of see it coming, but it's not one of those where, like, I fucking knew it, done. Even though they're trying to, explain the twist or resolve it, you're like, okay, play on my phone for the next 5-10 minutes for them to explain whatever you figured out. It's not really that. It's just like, oh, okay, Then we have Hereditary, which very much has that storyline of, like, okay, the family is a little weird. The mom is a bit weird. They have a weird child, At some point, more weird stuff happens because a tragedy happens. Okay. Oh, there's this, that story of, like, there's a book, there's a thing, we have to burn it. Oh no, by trying to get rid of the obvious thing, more bad shit starts happening. But at the same time, there's the added element of, like, the mom makes miniatures all the time, and they're very good miniatures, and it's like, she made a miniature of the tragic thing that happened to the family. And you're like, you really want to do that? It's been, like, a day, girl. Like, you want to grieve? Is that how you're going to grieve? Okay. The ending was a little bit odd and slightly predictable, and I called it the, Paranormal Activity 3 ending. But at the same time, like, the rest of the movie was so good that I kind of was just like, when it came to the ending, you just found yourself going, fine. That's what it is. The last one is Unsane. This movie, I feel like I really wish they didn't advertise it as this was filmed on an iPhone kind of thing. It was filmed on, a phone, all that stuff. But it was done very well, Like, besides it being filmed on a phone, the story itself, like I said, it's a woman who's trying to prove that she's not crazy. And there's so many of these movies out there where someone is like, no, I'm not crazy, I'm not crazy. And then turns out, like, oh, yeah, they're crazy. Yeah, they're crazy. Because you're like, oh, I knew it. But this movie kind of is like, no, I'm not crazy, I'm not crazy. And then you're like, maybe she isn't. Like, maybe she isn't crazy. Or maybe she is. Like, you find yourself, like, you're not, like, the audience isn't that much smarter than the movie, because most of the time you're like, yeah, she is. Oh, they're trying to prove that she is, and okay, oh, she turns out she is. Oh, fuck, okay, 90 minutes. Whereas this one, you're like, okay, I guess she is. Maybe she isn't. No, I think she is. Maybe she's not. Fuck. Like, you really find yourself not sure, whether she is or isn't. And yes, with being filmed on a phone, you have this kind of odd intimacy it creates with the movie, which kind of also helps with a little bit of unease. But yeah, so those are my best of 2018 movies. My worst of list is definitely going to be really long, and the video is definitely going to be really long. But anyway, yeah, so that was my best of 2018 list, and yay!